Just 3 years ago, Jordan Poole was living every basketball player's dream: championship rings, clutch playoff performances, a massive $140 million contract extension, and the respect of NBA legends. Fast forward to today, and he's been traded not once but twice in 2 years, with teams literally paying other franchises just to take his contract off their hands. This isn't just a typical career decline. This is one of the most dramatic falls from grace in recent NBA history, and the real reasons behind it are far more shocking than most fans realize. The Golden State Warriors didn't just trade away a young, talented guard, they essentially made one of the costliest mistakes in franchise history by choosing chaos over championship potential. But here's the thing that'll blow your mind: the infamous Draymond Green punch wasn't even the beginning of Poole's problems. It was just the moment everything came crashing down publicly, exposing issues that had been brewing behind the scenes for months. What happened to the confident young player who hit game-winning shots in the NBA Finals? How did someone with his talent and potential become such a toxic asset that teams are willing to lose trades just to get rid of him? The answer involves locker room politics, massive ego clashes, defensive disasters, and some behind-the-scenes behavior that would shock even the most cynical NBA fans. Remember when Jordan Poole looked like the future of basketball? During the Warriors' 2022 championship run, he wasn't just a role player, he was the X factor that pushed Golden State over the edge. While Steph Curry and Klay Thompson handled the spotlight, Poole was quietly becoming the dynamic scorer the Warriors needed to maintain their dynasty. His performances in crucial playoff moments had fans and analysts comparing him to a young Steph Curry, and honestly, those comparisons didn't seem crazy at the time. The numbers tell the story of a player who seemed destined for stardom. In the 2021-22 season, Poole averaged 18.5 points per game while shooting an impressive 36.4% from three-point range. But it wasn't just the regular season numbers that caught everyone's attention. It was his playoff performances that had NBA executives salivating. He stepped up when it mattered most, hitting clutch shots and playing with the kind of confidence that separates good players from great ones. Golden State was so convinced they had found their next franchise cornerstone that they offered him a 4-year, $140 million extension just 10 days after the Draymond Green punch incident. Think about that for a second. The Warriors had just watched their locker room explode into chaos, yet they still believed Poole was worth nearly $35 million per year. The timing of that contract extension now looks like one of the most poorly calculated decisions in recent NBA history. But here's what makes this whole situation even more tragic. Poole actually had the talent to live up to that contract. His shooting ability was legitimate, his ball handling skills were NBA caliber, and his scoring instincts were off the charts. During his best stretches with Golden State, he looked like a player who could average 25 points per game and lead a franchise for the next decade. The potential was real, the skills were there, and the confidence seemed unshakable. The date that changed everything: October 5th. 2022. During what should have been a routine practice session, Draymond Green delivered a punch that didn't just connect with Jordan Poole's face, it completely destroyed the Warriors' championship chemistry and sent shockwaves through the entire NBA. The leaked footage showed Green walking up to Poole during a heated exchange and throwing a right hook that knocked the young guard backward, creating one of the most shocking moments in recent sports history. But here's what most people don't understand about that incident. It wasn't just about the physical assault. The punch exposed deeper fractures in the Warriors' locker room that had been building for months. Sources close to the situation revealed that tension between Green and Poole had been escalating throughout the previous season, with veteran players questioning Poole's work ethic and commitment to team defense. The punch was the explosive culmination of frustrations that had been simmering behind closed doors. Green later publicly apologized to Poole and his family. Green was fined by the Warriors and voluntarily left the team for a stretch but did not miss any games or face any discipline from the league. The fact that the NBA chose not to suspend Green sent a clear message about how the league viewed the incident, but the damage to the Warriors' championship culture was already done. Golden State eventually traded Poole to the Washington Wizards on July 6, 2023. The punch derailed the Warriors, which sticks with Green to this day. "I haven't felt that miserable in my life," Green said. "So that was one of my biggest failures." Even Green himself admits the incident was catastrophic for the organization. What's truly devastating is how the punch changed Poole's entire trajectory. Before October 5th, he was seen as untouchable within the Warriors organization. After the punch, every aspect of his game, attitude, and value came under microscopic scrutiny. The confidence that had made him special began to crack, and the Warriors' faith in him as a cornerstone player started to evaporate. The most shocking aspect of this entire saga isn't that Draymond Green punched a teammate. It's that the Golden State Warriors ultimately chose to keep the aggressor and trade away the victim. Think about the message that decision sent to every player in that locker room. It essentially told everyone that veteran status and past championships matter more than talent, potential, or even basic respect for teammates. Just 10 days after the infamous punch, Poole signed a 4-year, $140 million extension with the Warriors, the biggest move and a critical commitment in an offseason in which Golden State let Gary Payton II and Otto Porter Jr. walk. The move was viewed as a strong signal that the Warriors were committed to Poole as their future, but that commitment lasted less than 9 months. The Warriors' front office spent the entire 2022-23 season trying to manage an impossible situation. They had a veteran leader who had admitted to physically assaulting a teammate, and a young star whose confidence was clearly shaken by the incident. Instead of making the difficult but correct decision to move on from Green, they chose the path of least resistance and traded away their future. League sources revealed that multiple teams were interested in trading for Poole even after the punch incident, viewing him as a talented young player in a bad situation. The Warriors could have received significant value in return, but instead they panicked and shipped him to Washington for what many considered below-market compensation. The trade package they received, Chris Paul's expiring contract and future draft considerations, looked terrible at the time and looks even worse now. What makes this betrayal even more painful for Poole is how the Warriors handled the narrative. Instead of taking responsibility for creating a toxic environment, they allowed media reports to suggest that Poole was part of the problem. Anonymous sources within the organization began questioning his leadership, work ethic, and commitment to winning, criticisms that seemed designed to justify their decision to keep Green over their young star. Jordan Poole's first season in Washington was supposed to be his redemption story. Finally freed from the toxic environment in Golden State, he would have the opportunity to prove his worth as a franchise cornerstone and show that the Warriors made a massive mistake. Instead, what fans witnessed was one of the most frustrating individual seasons in recent memory, a player putting up decent counting stats while contributing to losing basketball in almost every measurable way. Even when he was good, Poole's performance was maddeningly inconsistent. Over the course of the entire season, he managed 2 games in a row of average or better performance just 5 times. He strung together 3 straight 100-plus PPA games only once. This level of inconsistency isn't just disappointing, it's franchise crippling when you're paying someone $30+ million per year. The most damaging aspect of Poole's Washington tenure wasn't his shooting struggles or occasional bad games, it was his complete inability to impact winning. For Poole, it was a potential all-star campaign. He averaged 20.5 PPG and 4.5 APG, while shooting 37.8% from three-point range. He definitely should have been in the conversation when it comes to all-star, but team performance was a factor in why he didn't make the cut. Those numbers look impressive on paper, but they masked a deeper problem that advanced analytics exposed brutally. Poole's defensive rating was among the worst for any starting guard in the league, and his plus-minus numbers were consistently negative despite his scoring output. He was essentially putting up empty calories, individual stats that looked good in box scores, but contributed nothing to actually winning basketball games. Poole played through an elbow injury Wednesday, but it's fair to wonder if he was hampered at all during a miserable shooting night. Even when dealing with minor injuries, his effort level and body language became constant sources of concern for coaches and teammates. Jordan Poole's contract extension, once viewed as a steal for the Warriors, has transformed into one of the most untradeable deals in the NBA. In 2025-26, Poole will earn a base salary of $31,848,215, while carrying a cap hit of $31,848,215 and a dead cap value of $31,848,215. That's not just expensive. It's franchise-altering money for a player whose impact on winning has become increasingly questionable. Poole, meanwhile, is owed $29 million annually for the next 2 seasons, essentially the opposite of financial freedom. For teams trying to build championship rosters, committing that much salary cap space to a player with Poole's defensive limitations and consistency issues is simply impossible to justify. The contract becomes even more problematic when you consider what other players are earning similar money. Poole's annual salary puts him in the same financial category as proven all-stars and championship contributors, yet his on-court impact doesn't come close to matching that compensation level. The chance to offload Poole's onerous contract was cited as a key reason for the deal, as he's set to make $31.8 million in the 2025-26 season and $34 million the following year. What's most damaging about this contract situation is how it affects his trade value. Teams aren't just evaluating Poole's basketball skills, they're trying to determine if his production justifies taking on nearly $66 million in future salary commitments. For most franchises, that equation simply doesn't work, which explains why he's been traded twice in 2 years despite his obvious talent. The psychological impact of this contract pressure can't be understated either. Poole knows that every game, every shot, and every defensive possession is being evaluated against his massive salary. That kind of pressure can crush a player's confidence and natural instincts, creating a vicious cycle where poor performance leads to increased scrutiny, which leads to even worse performance. Just when it seemed like Jordan Poole might find stability in Washington, the basketball world was shocked by another trade that exposed just how far his value had fallen. The Pelicans are trading CJ McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, and a future second-round pick to the Wizards for Jordan Poole, Saddiq Bey, and the number 40 pick in this year's NBA draft. This wasn't just a trade, it was a public declaration that Poole's market value had cratered to the point where teams viewed him as salary ballast rather than a cornerstone player. Simply moving off of Poole and the nearly $66 million he was owed the next 2 seasons for any expiring salary would have been a win. Getting a player as good as McCollum, both on and off the court, will help the team be more competitive in 2025-26. The fact that Washington was thrilled just to escape Poole's contract tells you everything about how the league now views him. Right now, the Pelicans are slated to pay roughly $68 million to Poole and Murray in the 2026-27 season. As his Golden State tenure showed, Poole is probably a reserve on a good team. Murray might be diminished post-injury. That's a lot of money to spend on a backcourt that may not have an all-star between them. The trade grades from national media were brutal and telling. Most analysts gave the Pelicans a C or worse for taking on Poole's contract, viewing it as a desperation move by a franchise trying to salvage something from their disappointing season. The fact that New Orleans was willing to make this trade despite the obvious financial risks suggests they believe they can unlock something in Poole that 2 previous teams couldn't find. What makes this trade particularly damaging to Poole's reputation is the context. CJ McCollum, while older, was viewed as a more reliable contributor and better locker room presence. The fact that a straight swap was considered fair value demonstrates how much Poole's stock has fallen since his Warriors championship days. Beyond the statistics and contract issues lies a more troubling concern about Jordan Poole's mental approach to basketball. Multiple team sources and former teammates have raised questions about his confidence level, work ethic, and ability to handle adversity, issues that go far deeper than any single punch or trade scenario. Body language experts and veteran NBA observers have noted a dramatic change in Poole's on-court demeanor since the Draymond Green incident. The confident, swaggering player who once thrived in clutch moments has been replaced by someone who appears hesitant, overthinking simple decisions, and visibly frustrated when things don't go his way. This mental fragility has become particularly evident during losing streaks in high-pressure situations. Over the past 26 games, he averaged 20.9 points on solid efficiency. He was in the 64th percentile among combo guards in points per shot attempt, according to analytics site Cleaning the Glass. His response to the move was that he just got to work and he took off and started really playing well. While there have been flashes of his old self, the consistency issues remain problematic. Leadership has become another major concern surrounding Poole's development. Unlike other young stars who naturally gravitate toward vocal leadership roles, Poole has struggled to command respect from teammates and coaches. His defensive effort in particular has been called into question by multiple coaching staffs, with some suggesting he lacks the competitive fire necessary to excel at the highest level. Social media behavior has also raised eyebrows within NBA circles. While not necessarily controversial, Poole's online presence has sometimes seemed disconnected from his team's struggles, leading to questions about his priorities and commitment to winning. Veterans on multiple teams have reportedly expressed frustration with what they perceive as a lack of accountability and self-awareness. While the Draymond Green punch makes for compelling headlines, the real reasons behind Jordan Poole's career decline run much deeper than a single incident. League insiders and player development experts point to several fundamental issues that have plagued Poole throughout his career and explain why multiple teams have been willing to move on from his talent. Defensive liability has been the most consistent criticism of Poole's game since his college days. Despite his offensive skills, his inability to guard NBA-level talent has made him a net negative in many game situations. Advanced defensive metrics consistently rank him among the worst guards in the league, and opposing teams have learned to attack him relentlessly on that end of the floor. This defensive weakness limits his potential role on championship-level teams to a sixth-man scorer rather than a starting contributor. Work ethic concerns have also followed Poole throughout his career, though these criticisms are often whispered rather than stated publicly. Multiple coaching staffs have reportedly struggled to get consistent effort from him during practice sessions and film study. While he's never been accused of being unprofessional, sources suggest he doesn't approach the game with the obsessive preparation that separates good players from great ones. Chemistry issues represent another significant concern that goes beyond the Green incident. Poole has struggled to build strong relationships with veteran teammates on multiple teams, often appearing isolated or disconnected from team chemistry. His style of play, while individually impressive, doesn't always translate to team success, and his shot selection has been criticized by teammates who feel he prioritizes personal statistics over winning basketball. Basketball IQ limitations have become increasingly apparent as Poole has faced more complex defensive schemes and higher-level competition. While his natural talent is undeniable, his ability to read the game, make quick decisions under pressure, and adapt to different situations has lagged behind other players with similar skill sets. This mental aspect of the game cannot be taught at the NBA level, and it may represent a permanent ceiling on his potential impact. The New Orleans Pelicans represent Jordan Poole's third NBA organization and quite possibly his last legitimate chance to prove he belongs as a starting-caliber player in this league. At just 26 years old, he's still young enough to turn his career around, but the window for redemption is rapidly closing, especially considering the massive financial commitment the Pelicans have made. New Orleans brings several advantages that could potentially unlock Poole's dormant potential. The organization has shown success with reclamation projects and player development, and their coaching staff has experience working with talented but inconsistent guards. The reduced media attention and pressure compared to Golden State and Washington might allow Poole to play more freely and rediscover his confidence. On January 18, 2025, Poole made his second appearance at the Chase Center, the home court of the Warriors, as a visiting player since the trade. He scored 38 points, including 15 shooting on three-point shots, and his 900th career three-pointer, but the Wizards lost. Performances like this demonstrate that the talent is still there, buried beneath the psychological and systemic issues that have derailed his career. However, the challenges facing Poole in New Orleans are substantial. The Pelicans are dealing with their own struggles and may not have the luxury of patience required for a complete player rehabilitation project. His defensive limitations remain unchanged, and the team's championship aspirations could be compromised by his inability to contribute on that end of the floor. The financial pressure also continues to mount. That's a lot of money to spend on a backcourt that may not have an all-star between them. If Poole can't quickly prove he's worth his massive contract, the Pelicans might find themselves in the same position as his previous teams, looking for ways to move on from a talented but problematic player. Jordan Poole's dramatic fall from championship contributor to league-wide concern represents more than just one player's career struggles. It's a cautionary tale about talent, pressure, and the fragile nature of NBA success. His story demonstrates how quickly things can unravel when talent isn't matched with mental toughness, work ethic, and team-first mentality. The most shocking aspect of Poole's decline isn't any single incident or decision, it's the speed and completeness of his transformation from valuable asset to salary dump candidate. 3 years ago, he was hitting clutch shots in the NBA Finals and being compared to young Stephen Curry. Today, teams are actively trying to give him away just to escape his contract obligations. This dramatic reversal reveals uncomfortable truths about the modern NBA that extend far beyond Poole's individual situation. The league's emphasis on player development and potential sometimes overshadows fundamental questions about character, work ethic, and winning mentality. Poole possessed all the physical tools and basketball skills necessary for stardom, yet he couldn't translate that talent into sustained success or positive team impact. The psychological aspect of his decline also highlights the importance of mental health and support systems in professional sports. The Draymond Green punch clearly damaged Poole's confidence and team relationships, but his inability to recover from that adversity suggests deeper issues that multiple organizations have failed to address effectively. Perhaps most telling is how quickly NBA teams have given up on a player with Poole's obvious talent. In a league desperate for scoring and offensive creativity, the fact that multiple franchises have been willing to trade him at below-market value speaks volumes about the concerns surrounding his character and impact on team culture. Jordan Poole's career isn't over. He's still young, talented, and playing for an organization that believes they can unlock his potential. But his journey from championship glory to becoming one of the league's most cautionary tales serves as a stark reminder that talent alone isn't enough to guarantee success in the NBA. Whether he can rewrite his story in New Orleans or continues his dramatic fall will determine not just his legacy, but serve as a lesson for future generations of NBA players about the importance of character, consistency, and commitment to winning basketball.